Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hi, people.
We're here to discuss The MEG, starring Jason Statham. And Rainn Wilson as the rich billionaire guy. Not the poor billionaire, but the rich one.
The very rich one.
And a couple of others are in this film who I don't know their names off the top of my head, but
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose, she's, yes. And the shark, a big, giant shark. Before we get into this, I want to thank 40X for inviting us to watch this film in 40X. It certainly made a difference, apparently, because we came away enjoying the film. We spoke to Greg afterwards, my brother, who did not watch in 40X, and his experience was 1,000% different from ours. Because he asked me how it was, and I was like, I like it. It's fine.
Fun.
And Charles was like, it was really fun. He's like, yeah, I was.
No. Well, he was missing out because he didn't get any of those cool water effects, and we also got it in 3D as well, and I thought they did really well with all of the under the water stuff in 3D. It looked so cool.
The 3D made it more immersive, but I think the thing that made it more enjoyable for me was the 40X, because there's parts where you're buoying in the water, and you feel the chairs doing the same thing, so you really do feel like you're part of the experience. I think this film in particular lent itself well to 40X, so just want to put that out there real quick. Let's get into this report of the film, shall we? Right off the bat, I want to say that out of 5, I would give this a 2.5. Maybe a 3.
Solid 3 for me.
Maybe a 3, but I don't know. I had mixed feelings, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it other than the film felt pretty predictable, and there were certain moments where I was like, okay, let's get through this moment, and I'll explain more about that in a second when we get to the spoiler territory of this video, but I'm gonna keep this spoiler free as much as possible. Not for very long though, I will warn you. You know it's about a shark who is a giant shark. And
giant prehistoric megalodon.
It's a monster shark.
Yes.
And literally it's a monster film.
Yeah.
And it's aggressive. The trailer actually looked fun. It pitches itself as this film that is very self-aware. It's kind of like a B movie on purpose. And I think that it actually successfully does that, but it rides the wave of serious, but kind of B-movie-ish.
Yeah.
And I think it does a pretty good job with that. The problem is that you have some actors in here who are just not the greatest, and I don't want to say who they are just yet, but man, it was frustrating. Going in, this poster, which you guys can see on the screen now, is what I saw, and that is very misleading because these people are not in the movie, not one of them. I think the girl in the pink tube, second from the left, I think she's Asian. I can't quite tell. But those others are definitely not Asian. And the scene with everyone in the tubes, it's mostly Asian. It takes place outside of China, or on the Chinese beach.
Yeah,
and it's
on the
all
coast.
Chinese people. I'm like, where's all the black and the white, and the other Mexican, for that matter? Where's all the other? I don't know what that guy is. He looks some kind of Hispanic. Where's all those people on the beach? They're not there. I mean, I think I saw one white tourist.
I mean, it's marketing.
No, it is. But it's misleading, just a little bit. The visual effects. You don't give a shit about the marketing. The visual effects is what you want to know about more than anything, right? And is it fun? Those are the two key factors here. And the visual effects was actually really good.
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with the visual effects. I mean, I turned to you afterwards and was like, that looks so good. All that under the water stuff and the fish and the shark. Yeah.
Bear in mind though, we watched this in 3D. That may have influenced the effect it had on us because, I don't know, 3D you can swing either way. It can either make things look worse or make it look much better. I know that when I'm playing my Nintendo 3DS, it makes the graphics look way better when it's in 3D. And so that might be the effect here. They spent $150 million on the film, and the shark looks great. All the underwater stuff, for the most part, looks great. Like, the CGI was top notch. They spent their money well there. And the film, was it fun? For the most part, yes, it was. But there were definitely moments where I'm like, like the things that I thought might annoy me in the trailer annoyed me in the film. In particular, Rainn Wilson. He just wasn't quite as funny as I wanted him to be. Like, it was like almost, and it's like, now you're just annoying, man. Like, you're just pissing me off. Like, the things this is not working for me, this comedy.
But I have to say, Statham was great.
Yes.
Statham doing Statham. So if you're a Jason Statham fan.
Yeah. Except when he's pointing. For some reason he points, and I don't know why. This is why I don't do this. Right? I don't even know if that's East London. But like, he points at actors, and I'm like, why are you just don't do less, man.
It's the power of the point,
Yeah.
the Statham point.
Real quick, I want to jump into talking about the cast. I just want to mention real quick that the young girl, I think it's Shuya Sophia Kai, she was great. I liked her.
Yeah.
Greg wasn't as much of a fan of her for some reason, but I thought she was great.
I mean, for a child actor, there were moments where you could tell that she was, you know, saying her lines and stuff, but she did it well, and she was so freaking adorable.
Yeah, I thought that she was just a very standout little actress. And if you're a fan of Heroes, the TV show, Masaoka, who played Hiro in the show, he plays a character named Toshi. He's in this film. Ruby Rose, if you like her, she's here. One of the things I want to mention before I forget that I appreciated about this film, and a friend told me he didn't like this, but I appreciate it, is that the film dwells on some of the consequences that happen, and I appreciate that. Like, when characters are offed, they are talked about later for no reason other than they were killed. And it's like, yeah, there's consequences. People died, and that affects people in a certain kind of way. Now, the character stuff wasn't quite as deep as I would have liked, which is what you get when you watch Jaws. But I wasn't quite expecting Jaws, but I was hoping for a little bit more, I don't know why, but a little bit more character substance. Them calling back to people who were killed. That's cool. That gave it a little bit of character. But beyond that, there wasn't much to sink your teeth into.
Right, because you didn't feel an emotional connection when they died so much. You were just like, oh well.
Yeah.
That's sad. Moving on.
So the female lead is played by Bingbing Li, who plays Suyin. I wasn't a fan of her English acting. I thought that her Chinese acting was really good, but her English acting just didn't measure up to the Chinese acting.
Yeah, I mean, and that could just be purely because English is her second language. So it can be harder to connect emotionally when it's not your mother tongue.
Whatever the reasons were, her acting just didn't move me when it was in English. And there were even some scenes where no language was required. It was body language stuff, and I was still frustrated with her. So, like, I'm not her biggest fan. Paige Kennedy plays DJ in the film, and I want to mention him because I didn't like him.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because he wasn't my favorite either.
He's just a lot.
I felt like he was just playing the stereotypical black guy.
He was just a lot of extra, and I'm like, dude, just like, sometimes he was good. There was no, like, it didn't feel real at all. It felt very much like he was way too self-aware. I get that the movie can be self-aware, but he was just too self-aware. It's just unfortunate because he's the, like, I was hoping that he was gonna be better. He's got a nice look. He seems like the sensible guy in the film, but it's just too much. It's just too much, too extra.
What I will say though about the cast, and this is probably more of a casting thing, is that it's really international. And I think that accurately represents what you might find in a research facility. Sure. So I appreciated that because, you know, they had like a British guy, Kiwi guy, Chinese people,
well, before we jump off that, Cliff Curtis is in this.
Awesome.
And if you don't know who Cliff Curtis is, he is one of the most talented actors ever. This guy is one of those chameleon types who can be literally anybody. And it's really weird to just hear him in his native tongue. I'm like, no, you played a Mexican in Training Day. You played this dude in Live Free and Die Hard. He's been in everything. And just like, he's a chameleon. That's what's so great about him is like, you don't know his name, but you've seen his face and you're not sure where, because he's everywhere.
He's so ethnically ambiguous. Let's just throw that word in there.
So the music stood out to me, and I was like, I know this music, this guy, this music composer sounds so familiar. And it turned out it was Harry Gregson Williams. If you guys don't know who that is, if you're gamers, he did pretty much most of the Metal Gear Solid games except for the first one. He participated in The Rock and Armageddon and a number of spy games, I think. Spy game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. He's got a huge profile. Shrek. And in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I believe he also did. So
cool.
I'm a fan of Harry Gregson Williams. I've listened to his stuff since I was a kid. It sounded a little bit like generic Harry Gregson Williams, but I don't care. I like his stuff. I like his style. I think we covered the gamut of stuff there, so you guys can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to watch it. Again, I gave it a 2.5, between 2.5 and 3 stars out of 5. I would say watch it, and if you watch it, make sure you watch it in some kind of extra layered thing like 4DX or 3D, because I think that will just make it more fun. Try to watch it with a crowd, because if you watch it like at an early morning showing, because it's cheaper, you're not gonna get as many people there, and it's not gonna be it's just an experience to have with a crowd, with a group of friends. If you're watching it, you know, for the quality of the movie, and you watch it at, you know, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. on a Saturday, it's just not gonna be fun. Try to watch it in 40X. I promise you, it's a much better experience. Gauging between me and Greg, using us as a barometer, like he and I have similar tastes in film, and for us to have polar opposite opinions about it, it speaks to the quality of 40X in my opinion. That was a major helping factor, I think. We're gonna go into spoilers now, so you guys bounce if you don't want to hear any. Thanks for hanging out, and there you go. I really didn't like the chemistry between, I should say lack thereof, between Jason Statham and Bing Bing Long. What's her name?
Bing Bing Lee.
They had no chemistry. It was like this forced thing on screen. I'm like, what? This is just not happening.
I think Statham was selling it. She wasn't buying it,
Jason
though.
Statham, it's one of those things where I wanted Jason Statham's end to work, but he has kind of a scary smile. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want him smiling at me. I can't put myself in her shoes. For instance, if I'm watching James Bond, I can see why that works. Pierce Brosnan, even in his old age.
Yes. You're talking about Pierce Brosnan, James Bond.
Yeah. No. Just Pierce Brosnan.
Craig.
Yeah. Pierce Brosnan, even in his older years, even in his later years, I should say, he's still a handsome dude, and you can still see why he's charming. I don't get that sense from Jason Statham. He's just the alpha in the situation, and he shouldn't smile. Like, his charm is smile-free. He doesn't need to do that, and that's where his sexiness comes from. That's where his charm comes from.
She saw him topless. Need I say more?
Yeah, that wasn't super impressive.
No?
I didn't think so. I'm like,
I mean, she's on a research facility. He's clearly like the most fit guy there. So I mean,
Jason
options.
Statham has been more fit than that, and I was a little disappointed to be. I mean, I'm not into dudes, but like, I'm like, dude, come on, you could have done better than that. Like, he's been more fit than that if you watch his other stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
That being said, Jason Statham, he might be older.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is, and so.
I mean, he must be in his 40s. I mean, for a guy in his 40s to be that ripped, I'm quite impressed.
Oh, he's 50 plus.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at that. That's 6-pack on a 50-year-old.
It was a 4-pack.
Damn.
It was a 4-pack.
Oh.
I take back what I said a second ago. His body was pretty damn good for his age. The thing is, we watch a lot of Indian movies, and I don't know how many of you guys watching this are Indian or from the States or whatever, so I'm gonna assume that there's a number of you watching this who are not from India or don't watch Indian films. There's a movie star named SRK, or Shah Rukh Khan. Dude is 50 plus, and he's got like abs, like freaking killer abs. And I'm like, if he can do it, Jason Statham can do it. And so that's why I'm like, okay, fine. He's 50 plus, that's pretty good for 50 plus. Most 50 plus year olds don't look like that. But that being said, you got SRK in India who's got like a raging 8-pack. Jason Statham rocking a 4. You gotta double that shit, bro. There's a scene where Rainn Wilson is being dramatic. Not dramatic, he's being more serious, not so jokey. I forget what he said.
I came here to celebrate with you, and now
I mourn with you.
I mourn with you.
And he sold it. And I was like, oh, it's taking a turn. I like that his character's taking a turn.
Yeah.
But I feel the other shoe's going to drop at some point. I don't know why. I feel it. And then it does. He lied. And I'm like, that was the predictable way to go. That was very predictable, and I wish it didn't do that, because for me, the movie lost so many points when it did that because I saw that coming a mile away.
But everything about the movie was predictable, though, I think. But there's a certain comfort in that, for me at least, where it's like, oh, okay, we're watching a monster movie, it's kind of following all the tropes. So I guess if you watch a lot of monster movies, you're gonna feel like, that's super predictable. But on the other hand, for someone who gets really anxious watching monster movies like me, I actually was comforted by the fact that I could see the beats.
There's a difference between following a formula and it being so obvious. This was really obvious what was going to happen. And then the moment when like they discover it's a whale and like he falls out of the boat for some reason, which was just...
How many times can people fall out of boats? Maybe you should like strap yourself in or something.
So he falls out of the boat and he swims to the whale and he's like, phew, he thinks it's okay. And the shot's lingering on him and I'm like, can we just get through this scene? Like, we know what's gonna happen. And he gets eaten. That whole chunk of the film was really predictable and it upset me. Yes, you know what's gonna happen generally speaking in the movie, but that part, it just offended me. There's a lot of action in the film. I think that for the most part, the action, I know people fell in the water a lot, but I thought the action was still really fun. Outside of that Rainn Wilson sequence, I thought the action was pretty cool. The sharks were great. Oh, we were talking about nods last night, and I think that there was a fat Chinese kid who should have died.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
just
like,
have it in for that fat Chinese.
Not because I want him to die, but because it was a direct nod to Jaws.
Okay.
And they should have done it just like Jaws, and people like me who watched that film a bunch of times would have been like, yes! Oh yeah, I recognize that. Like, it's not a ripoff, it's an homage. According to a friend of ours, there was another homage with the 3 platforms being pulled together, was just like the, I forgot what it was in Jaws.
Barrels.
The barrels in Jaws. I guess it was an homage to that. I didn't pick up on that until my friend told me about it.
What I will say though about this movie is there is a really great sense of underlying danger throughout. Like they did that really well.
Seeing the underwater aquatic life did bring back, you know, memories of the abyss. I like seeing that the underwater life that you would never see otherwise, and it looked real. Like they did a great job with the aquatic life. You know, it looked nice, and there was a good sense of danger with the shark and whatnot. I thought all of that was cool. There was one moment where the shark was like literally this close to Jason Statham and biting him, and I'm like, I don't know, something about that seems really funny. Like, it almost feels like in Interstellar when they're just flying around the black hole and not being sucked in. I'm like, something's just off about this. I'm not quite sure what, but I don't know the sciences, but something's just funny there. Like, he was literally like this close to getting eaten. I just feel like the shark could have reached or something and gotten him.
Do sharks have tongues?
No, I don't know.
That'd be really
just
funny.
something. Like, I just feel like the shark was just, I don't know. I would have liked Jason Statham to push his foot off the shark or something, but.
Oh yeah, I would have liked him to punch it in the nose. I don't know if you've ever heard that one.
I heard
like
it.
If you just punch it in the nose.
Flip it or something. Like just turn its nose over.
Or like it just stops them.
So let's talk about the ex-wife. For some reason, I didn't buy her not being into Jason Statham anymore. I get that they established that they had this fun romp, lasted a year, and then went down the tube. But they didn't make clear if it went down the tube while Jason Statham was dealing with the fallout of leaving people behind at the beginning of the movie.
I think so.
It wasn't clear if that was separate or the same. What was clear was he told her she didn't believe him. She thought he was crazy. So the indication to me from that is that they were married, she didn't believe him, they got divorced as a result of her not believing him.
I think it was a combination of things because his friend Mac, played by Cliff Curtis, he was all like, oh yeah, they just didn't work out, they didn't mesh together. Sometimes you just get couples that work better as friends, but not so much as a married couple, and then they just end amicably.
I understand that concept.
Yes.
I get the concept. I just don't agree with its application here. The thing is, it's almost like Chekhov's gun in a way, because you see that it's his ex-wife. He's going down to save her.
Right.
He opens up the hatch and there she is. It's too much legacy for me. Like, I wanted it to be the abyss at that point. Like, I wanted it to be that, you know, they got these issues, but by the end of the film, maybe they work it out. He risked his life to save her.
Because he still loves her.
I don't care what you say. He's put his balls on the table. Like, he's alpha male. I don't care what you tell me, she's attracted to him again. She was in danger. Her life was threatened. And he shows up, S on his chest, being like, I got you, boo. That's a wrap. She's wet. No pun intended. She's all for him again. And maybe they argue about some past stuff, and like we see exactly why it didn't work out, as opposed to a one-liner from Cliff Curtis. We get the sense of why they aren't good together from their arguments in the film. And then somehow they work it out.
But then how would he get with Bing Bing Lee?
He doesn't. There's no chemistry there. That was a forced situation. Maybe Jason Statham is like caught between the two, and it's like, maybe I can marry both of you. I don't know. It's a new age that we live in. Polyamory is a thing. I think it's because the Bing Bing Lee chemistry didn't work for me. I was more profoundly upset that he didn't get back together with his beautiful ex-wife, mind you. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bing Bing Lee is pretty as well, but like there was just no chemistry. There was more chemistry between Jason Statham and Jessica McNamee? I don't care, don't criticize me. There was more chemistry in their few scenes together than there was with Bing Bing Lee. That's my feeling on that. I didn't think that Jason Statham and Bing Bing Lee had chemistry, and I think that the film did us a disservice by not exploring the possibility of them at least trying to work it out again. All of this sounds like I hated the movie. These are just criticisms I have of the film. I still enjoyed it. I still liked a lot of things about it, namely visual effects, action, Jason Statham. Absent of the chemistry that they forced. Oh, and the little girl, she was awesome.
Yes.
Shuya Sophia Kai plays Mei Ying. Like, again, I want to say she was great. She stole the show.
Yes.
She literally put that shit in a duffel bag and ran out of 7-Eleven. Like, she stole the show. In fact, my favorite scene, I'll end on this. My favorite scene was when Jason Statham jumps into the tank for the first time. This makes no sense, by the way. The submarine thing. Even like her hanging out in there. I know she knows her way around, but goddamn, like that's a little lax. She's hanging out in there. She knows what the deal is with all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I like this scene that they had together.
It was very sweet.
Yeah. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Let us know what you thought of the Meg in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Be honest, be verbose, what you liked, what you didn't like. Check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media, and check me out too. I'm there on the Instagrams and stories and tweets. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.